This unusual story happened to a girl named Lisa. She was 14 years old when it all began. In fact, she is still 14 today. You might think this means the story happened recently, but no, it happened 45 years ago. It's simple, she never grown old. Here's how it happened. It was an ordinary morning on an ordinary day. Lisa had just won another beauty contest at her school and was overjoyed. She was considered the most beautiful girl in town and spent most of her time looking in the mirror. Lisa believed there was nothing better than staying young and beautiful forever. That day, she traveled to a small seaside town with her parents. Her father had received a promotion at work and the family decided to celebrate. The day was wonderful. They had lunch at a nice restaurant and spent the evening walking along the waterfront. Her parents kept telling her that she was the most beautiful girl in the world and that it would be wonderful if she could stay that way forever. Everything would have been perfect if Lisa hadn't noticed a street artist painting on canvas nearby. She walked over and asked him what he was painting, but the artist remained silent and didn't respond. Her mother told her not bother the man because he was busy, but Lisa wouldn't give up. She noticed several beautiful paintings standing beside him. They were portraits of different people, all young and attractive. Soon she began begging her father to pay the artist to paint her portrait as well. Her father replied that the artist was probably busy and might not have time. Then, suddenly the artist spoke. "I will paint you, child." Lisa was thrilled. Her father asked how much it would cost. "I don't need money. Money is only paper. Beauty is far more valuable." Her father was clearly happy that it would be free, so he agreed. Lisa could hardly contain her excitement, and after a little more than an hour, the portrait was finished. She finally received the painting she had always dreamed of. She loved it so much that she touched it with her finger and accidentally stretched the paint slightly. A small mark appeared on the painted girl's lips, but Lisa paid no attention to it. When she turned to thank the artist and tell him how wonderful the portrait was, she discovered that he was gone. Her parents were just as surprised. Only a moment earlier he had been standing there, but now he had vanished. All the painting around him had disappeared as well. Maybe the wine from lunch made us a little dizzy, and we simply didn't notice him leave. Come on, Lisa, let's go home. The wonderful weekend soon came to an end. Lisa hung the portrait on the wall of her bedroom and returned to her normal life. A year passed, then another, but Lisa didn't change at all. Her classmates grew older, but she remained exactly the same 14 years old girl, as if time had stopped for her. At first nobody paid much attention. Her mother said she had grown slowly as a child too. Her father insisted it was probably genetic and that important thing was that she was healthy. Years continued to pass. Nothing changed. By the time of her graduation, Lisa was much shorter than all of her classmates, and people had begun asking questions. Her parents took her to countless doctors, hoping someone could explain what had happened, but nobody could. Only the portrait continued to change. She first noticed it about a year earlier. The girl in the painting no longer looked like a child. Now she looked like a young woman, much older than Lisa herself. It was as though the portrait was aging instead of her. Lisa showed the painting to her parents. They were terrified. The entire family immediately understood that the portrait had something to do with her condition. The following weekend, they returned to the same seaside town, hoping to find the artist and get answered. Strangely enough, he was still there. He sat in exactly the same place, painting. And most importantly, he hadn't aged at all. 5 years had already passed. Lisa's father began shouting at the artist, demanding that he fix whatever he had done. But once again the artist ignored them and continued painting. Eventually, her father changed his approach. He pulled off his wallet and asked, "How much do you want?" The artist smiled. "I don't need money. Money is meaningless, but youth and beauty are wonderful. Let them last forever." As soon as he finished speaking, the artist vanished into thin air. Lisa and her parents had no choice but to return home. "After all, nothing terrible has happened. We are all alive and healthy," her mother said. "We can simply hide the portrait away." And that's exactly what they did. The year passed. Lisa's parents grew old, but she remained the same 14 years old. Nobody touched the portrait for many years. The story could have ended there, but it has an interesting conclusion. One evening, Lisa was sitting in her room and reading a book. Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "So, do you enjoy being forever young and beauty?" It was the artist. Lisa fell to her knees and burst into tears. She finally understood that youth is only one stage of life and not necessarily the best one. While her friend found their purpose, fell in love, started families, and built their future, she remained the same 14-year-old girl, year after year. All of those experiences had passed her by. The artist smiled. He was pleased that she had finally understood. "Where is the portrait I painted? Bring it to me." Lisa took the painting out of the closet and looked at it carefully for the first time in many years. The portrait now showed an elderly woman with gray hair. Could that really be her? Or rather, was that how she would have looked after 45 years? A tear rolled down her cheek and landed on the painting. "Good," the artist said. "You have learned your lesson." The canvas began to go warm. Slowly, the image started to change. The old woman disappeared. In her place stood a 14-year-old girl once again. Lisa couldn't believe her eyes. Suddenly, she heard her father say, "What a beautiful painting!" She looked around. She was standing on the same waterfront with her mother and father. The artist was nowhere to be seen. Maybe the wine from lunch made us a little dizzy, and we simply didn't notice him leave. "Come on, Lisa, let's go home." And so Lisa's story came to an end. The curse had finally been lifted. What about you? Would you want to stay the same age forever, or do you think the artist was right? Perhaps youth and beauty are wonderful, but should they really last forever?
Space zombies attack!
Hi, my name is Steve, and some crazy stuff has happened here. Aliens have attacked our city, and not just some random aliens from Pluto, but real zombie mutants. And it all started with a regular box of oatmeal. How are oatmeal flakes connected to space zombie, you ask? Very simple, let me explain. It was an ordinary day. I woke up pretty early, at 11 o'clock, and went to have breakfast. My parents had gone to the countryside, and since I had turned 14 a week ago, I was already pretty independent, so they could safely leave me home alone. Like this video if you enjoy staying home alone. Anyway, I opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of milk and went to make myself some oatmeal for breakfast. When I poured the contents of the box into a bowl, I was very surprised. The flakes were a strange color and texture. First of all, they were green, and second, they seemed to be moving somehow. That had never happened before. Maybe it's some kind of new promotion? I poured milk over them and the contents of my bowl started bubbling strangely, and as if some kind of chemical reaction was happening inside. Suddenly, a tiny flying object shot out of the bowl. It looked like an alien, only much smaller, not bigger than a coin. It hovered in the air for a few seconds and then suddenly flew out towards the open window. Well, saying that I lost my appetite would be an understatement. I decided to take a walk to McDonald's and eat a cheeseburger instead. Why not? I can afford it. I got dressed and headed outside. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But then I noticed that it had suddenly become much darker outside, and the sky had turned an unnatural shade of purple. Suddenly, I heard a loud voice, as if coming from a giant speaker.
People of Earth, this is Alpha Beta Prosco Quater from the Aldebaran Belt speaking. A dangerous race known as the Shazanach is heading toward your planet. They are poisonous zombies that destroy all life in the path. We have been at war with them for a long time, but unfortunately that was how now reach your world. They're so bad, almost like Russian. We will do everything we can to help you, but for now we urge you to declare a quarantine in order to reduce casualty among your population. End of transmission.
Silence followed. The people around me started laughing and treated it like prank or a joke. Everyone simply went back to their business, but I didn't funny at all. Especially because I still remember the tiny aliens that had flown out of my bowl. Maybe it was some kind of scout for those, and what were they called again? Shazanach? What a weird name. My instinct didn't follow me. About half an hour later, I heard another announcement. This time it was a human voice.
Dear citizen, everything is under control. The message you heard 20 minutes ago was simply a prank. Yes, a prank. Joy, there's absolutely no reason to panic. There will be no quarantine. Please do not.
The voice suddenly cut off. Then a strange hiding noises filled the air. At that exact moment, a massive spacecraft flew overhead. Terrifying creatures jumped out of it. They looked exactly like zombies and immediately began attacking people. Panic spread everywhere, including me. I ran towards the nearest shelter I could find. Could this really be happening? Had space zombie actually invaded Earth? What were they called again? Shazanach? Luckily, I hadn't gone very far from home, so I ran back towards the country yard toward my apartment building. 5 minutes later, I was safely inside my apartment. When I looked out of window, I couldn't believe my eyes. There were more than a dozen ships in the sky. The city was completely housed. Zombies were running towards the street while people fled in terror. The invasion of the space zombie had truly begun. Then I heard a voice, or rather, a teeny little voice.
Earthling, we sent you a warning. Alpha Beta Proscovado told you that an emergency quarantine was necessary to save your people. Why didn't you listen to us?
Standing in front of me was the same tiny flying spaceship. I couldn't believe my eyes. Also, after seeing Space Zombie, very little could surprise me anymore.
We can still stop the invasion, and the zombie can still be defeated. But first, we must organize a quarantine and warn everyone about the Shazanach attack.
I told him I would gladly help, but what exactly can I do?
You must reach the television tower and broadcast a signal. Only from there can the message spread across the entire country. After that, like a domino effect, it will spread across the whole planet. Here, take this.
A strange futuristic blaster appears on the table beside me.
This weapon is designed specifically to fight in Shazanach zombies. It will help us reach the tower. And now, hurry, we don't have much time.
I grabbed the blaster and rushed towards the television tower. To say I was nervous would be an understatement, but I had played a lot of video games where zombies were the enemies, so honestly, I wasn't afraid of them at all. In fact, it was kind of fun dodging their bites and blasting their heads off. I like headshots. The real danger came from the purple zombie that splat acid. If I hadn't been for my new backpack, they might have actually injured me. Still, even that zombie couldn't stop us. All we had to do was reach for the top floor and send the message. At the entrance, heavily armored good zombies were guarding the tower. Fortunately, my blaster handles them too.
You can keep it after all this is over if you want. The blaster is completely harmless to humans. Now, hurry to the top floor.
We ran to the elevator and rode up to the broadcasting studio. It seemed like we were finally about to complete our mission. I had already configured all the equipment and was ready to send the warning. But suddenly, the power went out. One of the zombies had bitten towards the main transmission line. For a moment I thought our entire plan had failed. Then suddenly the zombies had exploded. Out of nowhere, a girl appeared carrying a blaster identical to mine. She told us that she had already sent messages 5 minutes earlier, so there were nothing to worry about.
One was about the quarantine. What was the second one?
The girl smiled mischievously and...
This story could have happened to anyone. It's based on real events. Or maybe not so real. My clone stole my life.
Hi, my name is Andrew and someone stole my life. Well, not exactly stole it. The truth is, my clone is living with my family instead of me. But let me tell you everything from the beginning. I live in a big city with my mom, my dad and my dog Chuck. Everything was going great until school started giving us way too much homework. Even though I actually like studying, I simply couldn't keep up with the old assignment anymore. On top of that, more and more awesome videos come out on YouTube every single day, and I just can't watch them all. I'm sure many of you know exactly what I mean. You have to keep notifications turned on your favorite channel so you don't miss a new upload. By the way, do you have the notification bell turned on? I wonder how many people actually do. Anyway, sorry I got distracted. I kept thinking about how I could manage everything and what I should do with this mountain of homework. Nothing came to mind, so I just accepted the situation. Then one day during physics class, my favorite subject by the way, my teacher Mr. Nicholas noticed that I seemed upset and asked me to stay after class. He told me my grades had started dropping and that I wasn't as activity as I used to be. Of course they have. We get so much homework that I don't even know how to deal with it anymore. It feels like you need two people just to keep up. The teacher smiled mysteriously.
Come to the school lab in 1 week. I think I can help you.
I had absolutely no idea what he meant, but since I really wanted to get rid of all the extra work, I couldn't wait for our meeting. A week later, Mr. Stephen told me to wait until the school was completely empty. He also made me promise not to tell anyone I was about to see. When I entered the lab, I couldn't believe my eyes. It looked like a real scientific research facility.
The government has funded my personal research. I spent my entire life working on robotics and cloning, so I invested that money into my latest invention.
I was amazed by everything around me, but I still couldn't understand how any of this was supposed to help me with homework.
You're probably wondering what my research has to do with your homework. It's simple. For the past 2 years I have been developing a cloning machine. Technically, it's not a true clone, it's more of a biomechanical robot, but let's not get into the technical nerd details. The important thing is I need a volunteer, and I'm choosing you.
I was speechless. A volunteer? Wait, are you going to turn me into a robot or a clone? I don't get it.
No, quite the opposite. Not from you, but for you. I can create a robot that's an exact copy of you. It will do your homework, and whenever you're sick or don't feel like going to school, it can attend classes instead. No one will ever notice the difference.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Is that exactly possible? I asked what I had to do.
You don't have to do anything. The clone is already finished.
At that moment, another boy walked into the room. He looked exactly like me. Honestly, it was creepy. But wow, he was my identical twin. Hello, my name is FN2021.
No, your name is Andrew.
Reprogramming. My name is Andrew. And what's your name? Tomorrow my new life begins, I thought. I went home while my clone stayed at school so he could attend classes the next morning instead of me. The next day, I went to the cinema, took a walk to the park and enjoyed my freedom. That evening, I didn't have to do any homework because my clone had already finished it for me. This is amazing, I thought. This is the best idea ever. But my happiness didn't last very long. One day passed, then another. The clone kept going to school instead of me, getting perfect grades, and he was even invited to compete in the city science competition. Well, technically I was invited, but obviously he was going instead. Meanwhile, I kept wandering around the city. To be honest, it wasn't nearly as fun anymore. There were no other kids outside because everyone was in school. Walking around alone got boring. Eventually, I decided I had enough. Having a clone was great, but it was time to end this experiment. I need to ask Mr. Sevan to take the clone back so I could return to my normal life. The next day I went to see him and explain how I felt.
I understand, but something very strange happened yesterday. Yesterday, Andrew, the clone, came to me and said exactly the same thing you're saying now. He asked me to shut you down.
What? I don't understand. I'm the real Andrew. He is the clone.
I know that's what you believe, but are you absolutely certain that he is the clone and not you?
I was stunned. Of course I'm sure. How could it be any other way?
It's easy to find out. If you are the clone, there will be an unique barcode on your wrist. A real human wouldn't have one.
I immediately looked at my wrist and froze. There was a strange barcode printed on my skin. What? That's impossible. It must be a mistake.
There is no mistake. You are the clone, and I'm afraid I will have to shut you down. The experiment has gone out of control. I'm sorry, FN2012.
Suddenly, several people entered the laboratory and started surrounding me. I still don't know how I managed it, but I jumped over the window and leaped outside. I didn't want them to shut me down. Clone or not, they had no right. Now I'm on the run. Andrew is living with his family, or maybe with my family. I don't even know anymore. Whatever the truth is, I have no idea what awaits me next.
To be continued. Let's get 5,000 likes and I will release part 2. 5,000 like funny. You even not get 500 views. What an idiot.